Good afternoon. I'm John Palchicchio, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and I want to welcome you to the Recovery Weekly Check-In brought to you by DMPED. Today is November 17th, and we have a long list of guests with us today, so we want to get right to it. We're going to talk about two topics today about our recovery. First and foremost, one that's on the top of folks' mind, which is rent relief. It's an issue we've been working on since the early days of the pandemic response. And we have with us Polly Donaldson, the Director of the Department of Housing and Community Development. And then we'll also talk about another lighter topic, but one that's important. It focuses on the downtown DC holiday market and the work that the downtown DC bid has been doing to support our small businesses. But first up, we want to start with Director Donaldson to talk to us a little bit about some of the rent relief programs that we have and how they've been utilized thus far. So we'll go to Director Donaldson to talk about our programs. Director?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us. I wanted to be able to, as the Deputy Mayor said, to just give you an update on where we are with rent assistance programs here in the district. And at the Department of Housing and Community Development, we are working with our fellow agencies across the district, including the Department of Human Services, the Office of Tenant Advocate, the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, to ensure that we are coordinating our efforts and maximizing the resources that we have. Most of the resources that we do have for rent assistance are from the federal government. They're through our grants with HUD, both our regular annual community development block grants, as well as our the CARES Act funding that the Congress passed early on in the pandemic. I'll say this now and I'll repeat it. We have resources for rent assistance, and I encourage residents of the district who are having trouble paying your rent, or if you have back rent that you owe, please apply. I'm going to be giving you the information at the end of this presentation of where to go, what organizations can help you with that application. But first, let me run you through a few statistics here that you can see. As you can see, we've actually given a total for our DHCD rent assistance programs, 1.5 million to about almost 400 awardees. That is a low number. We do expect more, and indeed applications have been on the increase. We have two main rent assistance programs. The tenant-based rent assistance program known as TBRA, and that is specifically for residents who are earning less than 60% of the median family income. That's about $65,000 a year, and they are in a small building, 50 units or less, where they are having trouble paying their rent and have rent arrears. And they're also being impacted economically by the pandemic and are expecting to have trouble paying their rent going forward. And this is a program that can help with that. Again, we encourage you to apply, and we will be giving that information about the organizations that are administering that program. So that one is actually has been in effect for a few months, and we have been able to reach a really significant number of residents who are in small buildings where their ability to stay in those buildings and the ability for the landlord to keep operating the building with rents has been helped by these programs. I also want to talk about the Coronavirus Housing Assistance Program, known as CHAP, and that also is using federal funds, and that also is saying that you can actually be between 30% of the MFI to 80%. So that's about families and individuals making from $40,000 to almost $85,000, and that is so we can really help those low and moderate income families that have been economically impacted by the pandemic and will have back rent that needs to be covered. All of this is because while yes, we have an eviction moratorium at this point in time passed by the council, supported by the mayor and the administration, I will tell you that when that moratorium ends, we will need to ensure that back rent has been paid and that these are the resources that can help you do it. Next slide, please. This just gives you an idea about the number of applications that we've been receiving. I will note that for the coronavirus, the bottom chart is particularly important, that applications are increasing. The last bar there is for November, so we're only partway through the month. But we are seeing a gradual uptick. But we still, I want to encourage you, don't wait until the moratorium is ended, which right now is scheduled to be at the end of December. Do not wait to apply for the rent assistance, especially because the resources are limited, and we do want to make sure that we can help as many as are needed as well. Next slide, please. This, I think, helps very much to demonstrate who we are helping, and really it's our most vulnerable residents. Over 89% of the awards under the tenant-based rent assistance program, they have gone to our very lowest income residents of the district. And I think that's exactly what we want to make sure we're helping our most vulnerable residents, our lowest income, and those most at risk. You can see the geographic distribution, and it does show where there is a high rental population, so certainly in Ward 4, but also in Ward 7 and Ward 8. And so that is where the majority of the funds for the tenant-based rent assistance have been going. Next slide, please. For the CHAP program, which started a little bit later because we had to get the funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development at HUD, but the average award we've been giving has been about $3,000 a month, and again, overwhelming number to our most vulnerable and lowest income residents of the district. And again, the distribution is very similar, Ward 5, Ward 7, Ward 8, and that is where we are working to make sure that our district residents can stay housed and be able to do it. So how do you access these resources? First, go to the coronavirus.dc.gov, please, next slide, dc.gov website, /rent, and there will be a whole listing of what the rent assistance programs are for residents of the district. It includes both the DHCD programs as well as the Department of Human Services funded programs as well, that are both homeless prevention as well as emergency solutions grants as well. The two organizations implementing the tenant-based rent assistance are the Housing Counseling Services and the Latino Economic Development Center. And their contact information is on these slides and also on the coronavirus.dc.gov website. The eligibility is such that you must have been renting in the district since February, since immediately prior to the coronavirus pandemic. For the next slide, please. For the CHAP application process, you, again, go to coronavirus.dc.gov, or you can go to the Department of Human Services or the DHCD website for links to the portal to enter in to do your application online. Or again, there are 3 community-based organizations that are experienced housing counselors that are there to serve you and to provide you with assistance. Housing Counseling Services, the Greater Washington Urban League, and the United Planning Organization. Information, again, on contacting them, phone numbers, and how you can gain access to that assistance is all there. Remember that you are going to need to show what your income is and how you've been adversely impacted by the COVID pandemic, but really this is an opportunity to make up for the rent payments that you may owe in order to stay stably housed. We want to help you. We have the resources. Please come and apply, and we look forward to serving you. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director. And we have people watching on Channel 16. We have people watching on Facebook and Twitter, and even on mayor.dc.gov/live. If you have a question and you're watching on a social media platform, feel free to use the hashtag DCHope. That'll allow us to see your question or comment, and we can get you into this conversation. If you're listening actually on the phone line, you could press 0 now, and that will put you in the queue to ask a question. But if we could go to the application slide that Director Donaldson just went through, I know we use a lot of sort of acronyms and things like that. So if I'm, who ideally is the candidate or the applicant for the TBRA? So they are a renter.
They are a renter in a small building of 50 units or less. They have an income that is less than less than 50,000 a year, and usually it's very much less, as the chart showed, that we were really serving our most vulnerable and lowest income residents as well.
Okay, so on that application, so if you're a renter, you're in a building of less than 50 units, and you make generally less than $50,000, you should reach out to one of the folks on the screen now, the Housing Counseling Services or the Latino Economic Development Center.
That's correct.
All right. I promise the next set of questions is going to be just as easy.
Good.
So then for the CHAP program.
For the CHAP program, there are several ways to access it. It is with
And
these.
First off, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who am I? I'm a renter.
You're a renter, and your income can be anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000. So this is for low and moderate income residents of the district.
And then do I need to be in any size building, or this is?
No, this is for any tenant who meets those income qualifications and who has been adversely impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, meaning you've lost your job, you've lost your income, you can't pay your rent, you want to pay your rent, and you come apply to either the Housing Counseling Services, the Greater Washington Urban League, or the United Planning Organization.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Director, for walking us through that. Not once, but twice. We appreciate that. I know we'll have some questions about this. Again, on social media, use DC Hope. If you're listening on the phone line, you could press 0 now, and we'll make sure that all of the resources that we talk about today are on coronavirus.dc.gov/recovery. So you could find the information there. Now I want to talk about how we're supporting our small businesses and bring into the conversation Neil Albert. Neil is the president and CEO of the Downtown DC BID. He also is a former director, deputy mayor, city administrator. I think the only title he hasn't held is Santa Claus, but maybe there's something I don't know. With that, Neil Albert to talk about the Downtown DC BID and the holiday market.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and Santa Claus is coming to town. We'll talk a little bit about that today. So just briefly, for those of you who don't know what a BID is, Downtown DC BID is one of 11 BIDs here in the District of Columbia. We are a nonprofit organization that provides capital resources, research, and clean and safe services for folks in a 1 square mile area of downtown DC. Today I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing to support our businesses in downtown. Next slide. And also about the impact that the coronavirus has had on the downtown DC's economy. Downtown DC is critical to DC's general economy and to the economy of the region. In 2019, which was just last year, the downtown DC economy contributed $1.47 billion in revenue, almost $1.5 billion in revenue in that 1 square mile area, and only utilized about $570 million. So our net fiscal impact is close to $900 million every year, or at least last year, to the city's economy. Next slide. Next slide. So COVID hit, and like every city, every municipality, we have been impacted. But downtown DC has been impacted extremely hard. I know the chart on the screen is extremely hard to read, but it gives a sense as to what the effect has been on a number of important sectors of our economy. So for example, office buildings, there are only about 10% of employees working from office buildings in downtown DC as our recent research and analysis in October. What does that mean for our economy? It means that people are not shopping. People are not going to our restaurants, they're not going to our retailers. Another big driver of our economy is our hotel industry. I don't have to tell you how our hotel industry has been affected. Even though 81% of hotels are operating, up and running, they're only operating and running at about 31% of the revenue that they experienced last year. Downtown DC is home to 8 museums, 3 of which are open today. And as everyone knows, it's also home to the convention center, which drives millions of visitors into our restaurants, into our hotels on an annual basis. Next slide. And so when COVID hit, we partnered with the District of Columbia government and other bids to bring some relief. We can go to the next slide. Earlier on, we worked with the Deputy Mayor's office to do a robust round of PPE distribution, working with many of the other bids in DC. We got PPE to small businesses in particular who were reopening. We also worked with the Department of Transportation to accommodate restaurants who were interested in expanding their opportunity to provide services and food for people not just working and living in downtown DC, but folks who wanted to support businesses. One of our signature support events for restaurants has been what's called Dine Out on 8th Street, which is a multi-destination restaurant streetery, which featured 4 restaurants and food trucks. One of our premier restaurants in the bid, Cuba Libre, if you haven't been there, you have to go check it out, is still using that facility today. Next slide. So we pivoted recently, working in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and the Restaurant Association of Greater Metropolitan Washington to provide heaters to restaurants in particular who are interested in expanding their lifeline through the colder months here in Washington, D.C. And so I know if you're watching this online or on Channel 16, you've been hearing about the heaters. We have procured a substantial amount of heaters, and we are working with our bids, the other bids, for distribution to just those restaurants that will remain open during this cold weather period. Next slide. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, Santa Claus is actually coming to town this year. For the 16th year in a row, the Downtown DC bid will be operating the world-renowned Downtown Holiday Market. It's a great opportunity for folks to come and get their holiday gifts, mix and mingle in a socially distant, safe atmosphere, and support the downtown DC economy. But to talk more about the Downtown Holiday Market, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Berman, who is the president of Diverse Markets Management, the group that runs the holiday market on behalf of the Downtown DC Business Improvement District. Mike?
Thank you, Neil. I'm Mike Berman, and I run the Downtown Holiday Market on behalf of the DC bid, Downtown bid, and my company, Diverse Markets Management, operates several markets around town, including the flea market at Easter Market, Farmers Market Southwest, and we have been co-producing this event with the bid for 16 years, and despite the challenges of going through this year, we thought it was critically important to make this market happen for the small businesses that so need this event to make some revenue this year and have a fourth quarter that works. So there's a lot of challenges with that. There's a lot to do, but we've come up with a great way to do it safely and healthy, and frankly, it's kind of exciting what we've built, and I want to talk more about that. So next slide, please. We are still on the 700 and 800 block of F Street, but instead of the sidewalk that we usually are on, now we're on a closed street, and that creates a lot more opportunities, and it's a lot safer, and it gives us a much more efficient and exciting way to produce an event. And we open this Friday, November 20th at noon, and we run every day from noon to 8, with the exception of Thanksgiving Day, Mondays, November 30th, Mondays, December 7th, and December 14th. We're easily accessible by Metro. We're at Gallery Place Metro, Chinatown Metro. There's plenty of parking downtown. We do have the city center parking lot very close by that's got ample parking. So it's really easy to get to, and it's going to be a fun way to shop and a safe way to shop. And how are we going to do that? So we've really grown our footprint, and if anyone's shopped the holiday market before, you've experienced one aisle with vendors on either side, and so many people love it that it gets pretty darn crowded. That's all changed. With a closed street, we now have the vendors back to back, and we have a circulation pattern that allows customers to walk and see every vendor with plenty of space. We are using one entrance and one exit, so the market is barricaded off, and that creates a way to control the traffic flow and give a sense of every customer being able to see every vendor and shop it safely and effectively. Of course, everyone would wear a mask. We're going to check everyone in to make sure they're wearing a mask. There's hand sanitizer stations stationed all around the market. All of our vendors will be disinfecting their booths. Our food vendors will certainly be cleaning and disinfecting their booths constantly, and all contact surfaces. So a visual here shows you what our new market layout looks like. And so you would enter from the sidewalk of F Street in front of the steps to the National Portrait Gallery. We have a grand entrance, and our info booth is there to give you any help you need on who's in the show, and any mask you might need or hand sanitizing you might need is right there. And you'll enter the market, and you're going to walk in a counterclockwise fashion. So you're going to walk into the market and head towards 9th Street, and then you're going to wrap around and go towards 7th Street, and then you're going to wrap around to the center again for the exit. And this provides a really clean and safe way to put your eyes and put your dollars to all these vendors that have some really great things to show and talk about. The vendor mix is really exciting. These are all small and regional vendors. They have some really unique products. They've got some chocolate and some other gifts, and we have a lot of different new experiences to talk about at the show. We have a mixed augmented reality experience through our partners at Art Tech House. So you would download an app, and you can find some surprises in the market. So we're going to do some cool secret things that you'll have to come and experience. We do not have a live stage, so we're not doing live music, but we are doing a big Jumbotron screen, and so we will show some movies, and we have booked almost all of our favorite bands from previous years, and they've all given us a video recording of their performance. So you want to come and check them out, and we'll be broadcasting that at the market every day. So it's still going to be the holiday market experience that everyone's come to love. And importantly, this is outdoor shopping. So we feel this is a safe way to come and experience this and get your holiday shopping done. And we really appreciate folks coming to support our small businesses. And some of our small businesses are here with us today, one of which is Rahama Wright from the DC Pop-Up. And Rahama is going to talk about her products and her booth from the Made in DC booth.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you, Deputy Mayor, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Pop-Up Collaborative and what we're doing this year at the Downtown Holiday Market. My name is Rahma Wright. I'm the founder of Shea Aline and the Pop-Up Collaborative. So I'm sure you're wondering, what is the Pop-Up Collaborative? Well, the Pop-Up Collaborative was a concept I developed 3 years ago to help support primarily women and minority-owned businesses in the district, specifically businesses that are making products in the district. And so my company had an office location on H Street, and we converted the office space into a retail space and invited about 40 brands to come and showcase their products. And it happened in the holiday season of 2017, and we've just continued to do pop-ups all across the district and in partnership with DSLBD's Made in DC program. And so the reason that I created the Pop-Up Collaborative, because as a minority-owned and woman-owned business, I've had a lot of challenges, and I felt like there are other people like me who have similar challenges. Why not come together, utilize our economies of scale, utilize our resources, and help each other grow, and help each other increase our exposure and our brand outreach. And so that was the mission and the vision behind it. And through working with DSLBD, we've done some pretty incredible pop-ups over the last couple of years, and one of which was an airport kiosk at Washington National Airport, which gave us an opportunity to really bring our brands and our products to travelers, international, national travelers. And honestly, it was an incredible opportunity, and I have to say that the support of the DSLBD office has been amazing in terms of the Made in DC program, really supporting local makers and giving us the opportunity and the platform to really get our products out there. But COVID-19 hit, so after 9 months of operating this fantastic kiosk at the airport, we had to shut down. Mandatory shelter in place, travel bans, all had a tremendous impact on my business. And one of the resulting impacts was losing about 70% of our revenue since April. And as Mike has said, being a part of the downtown holiday market is going to be an opportunity for us to really end the year strong and really push sales, not only for my core business, Shailene, but for other brands and for other makers in DC. So I've actually brought a couple of the brands that we'll be representing at the Downtown Holiday Market. It will be 10 core brands in the tent. And we are focusing on women, minority-owned, and Black-owned businesses. And we're partnering with a couple of really interesting other retail partnerships with Nubian Human, as well as the Nile List and Market 7. All three of them are organizations that really support and uplift and provide brand exposure for Black-owned businesses. So because we have a 10 by 20 tent, we can't bring in a ton of brands, but by these partnerships, we're actually going to be promoting and helping to drive sales to websites, hundreds of websites supporting Black-owned businesses throughout the 4 weeks that we will be at the Downtown Holiday Market. So as Mike said, please come out, please support us. This is an incredible opportunity to support small businesses that have really struggled, and I'm one of them. 2020 was really difficult, and I really want to just take a moment and talk to all my peers out there, the entrepreneurs and small business owners. I know it's been a hard time. There have been plenty of moments where I felt like I wanted to give up, and I believe that if we come together and stand together and prioritize community over competition, we'll really get through this. And if we get through COVID-19, we can literally get through anything. And I also just want to thank the Deputy Mayor's Office. I'm here because I did receive a DMPED Small Business Recovery Grant, so thank you so much. And also have had the opportunity to get support from WAKIF and LEDC. And so as I said before, this is really a community effort. None of us can get through this by ourselves. And with that, in terms of supporting small businesses and really shining a light on what we are all doing, I'm really excited to introduce another brand that's going to be featured at the Downtown Holiday Market. So David Burton of the Capitol Candy Jar. I didn't want to mess that up. And we've actually had the opportunity to work with each other at the airport kiosk. So I will pass it over to you.
Yes, we did. Thank you so much. I appreciate the intro. And thank you to the Deputy Mayor's Office and the Downtown DC BID for the opportunity to be here today and speak a little bit. My name is Dave Burton, and I'm the founder of the Capital Candy Jar. I started my first candy company when I was 14 years old. I wanted money to do things that other 14-year-olds would want to do, and I asked my parents for money, and they said, we don't have any to give to you, but here's a recipe to make lollipops. See if you can make them and sell them at school. So I did, and I was the richest kid in school for about 4 months until the principal shut me down because I was taking too much revenue away from the vending machines. So that was my first candy company. I moved to the District of Columbia about 9 years ago. And one of the things I noticed at that time is that DC didn't have its own candy company, and so I started the Capital Candy Jar about 7 years ago, and we've been growing very strong ever since. And every year we were seeing growth, and everything was going great. And then, as Rahama said, COVID hit, and that's had a dramatic effect on our business. Neil talked about how the convention business and the hotels have been affected. Well, as a small business that supplies those industries, it's had a direct impact on us because hotel gift shops were one of the biggest places that we sold our candy. We used to get a lot of conventions that would order candy, branded candy, to hand out at conventions and things, and that was a huge portion of our revenue stream that just disappeared overnight when COVID started. Thank you also to the Deputy Mayor's office, because we also received a small grant from the city, and that kind of helped us in those early days when things were so desperate and tight for us. One of the things that's been fantastic is, from a business perspective, is being able to slowly pivot the business and learning new ways to do business in the new COVID era that we have no idea how long it's going to last. One of the first things we did is we pivoted our website. We said, people are going to be in quarantine, and they're going to need, they're going to be feeling bad, and people just want to let people know they're thinking about them. So we launched a whole second brand called capitalcarepackage.com, and you can send a care package to anyone for $10 or less, including shipping, and we've sent over 4,000 care packages since we launched that earlier this year. Our website itself has taken off, and we have shipped so many gifts to people. One of the things that I'm excited, Rahama talked about businesses supporting other businesses. I've been getting a lot of calls from other local DC businesses that are saying things like, our employees are, been at home for months and they're just feeling a little bit low, and we want to send them something to pick up their spirits, or, we've got this event going on and we want to send something to people. And so we've been getting a lot of orders and things from other businesses in DC, and that's really grown our business. That's really how we've had a pivot now, with the hotels and convention business being gone. Most of our business these days is to other companies and corporations, and our web business are the two things that are keeping us alive. And the exciting thing is we've actually been able to bring back most of our employees that we had a furlough in the early days, and so it's exciting to see that. And then we're pretty excited about the downtown holiday market. One of the things that does for us is it gives us almost a whole second store location. We do have a store on Capitol Hill at the corner of 15th and Constitution Northeast that you can visit year-round. But for the entire month of December, we also have this sort of pop-up store at the downtown holiday market. And one of the things that allows us to do is hire additional DC residents and employ them during this market to help us run that. And so we're pretty excited about being able to support them and contribute to the economy that way.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here with us today. And I'll start off with some questions for actually David. So David, I see Rahama brought some samples. Did you bring any samples?
If I'd have known, I would have brought lots of chocolate. But we can ship anywhere.
Exactly. I love that. And actually, on that though, you mentioned that your website traffic has really picked up. What have you done to sort of stand out on the web?
I think we've done two things. We created that second brand that I talked about, capitalcarepackage.com, and then on our regular website, capitalcandyjar.com, we really invested this year in the website. Once we saw that was where our revenue was going to come from, to give you a comparison, in the past, our web has been about 1% to 2% of our business, and this year it's probably going to be about 40% to 50% of our business. Wow. So massive increase there. And so we started investing in our website. We just, a couple weeks ago, moved to a brand new platform hosting the web. We hired some local photographers to reshoot all of our products. We've really been trying to support other small businesses as we grew the web.
Yep. And Rahama, thank you for your work, and in particular, thank you for your work in making sure that tourists and visitors that come to DC don't just leave with an FBI or a CIA t-shirt, which we see very often here in DC. But tell us, so how have your vendors and the folks that you worked with on the pop-up, especially the one at the airport, how have you sort of replaced that? Have you found success on selling on the internet, and how have you kind of approached that as well?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been focusing on, similar to what David is talking about, is looking at how we can utilize our website as a way to drive traffic to vendor websites. So the Pop-Up Collaborative is a collection of brands. So we don't necessarily run the business or sales arm for a specific brand. We consolidate, I'm so sorry, I'm talking to you. We consolidate all of the brands on one singular website called the DC Pop-Up, and people can go learn about the various brands and then support them through clicking through and going to their websites. So that's how we were structured beforehand, and the physical pop-ups was the opportunity for us to bring all the brands in one place, so that like the airport kiosk, to give people the opportunity to purchase on site. And so one of the things that we've done is work with LEDC to develop a web strategy to help us with driving traffic to our website and then from there to the brands that we're working with. For this particular downtown holiday market experience, one of the things that we're doing is we're developing a code called Unity. And that code, everyone that is in the collaborative will be using the code Unity as a way, when people come into the tent, we'll share that code, and people will then go to their website and they can use that code to either get, like a 10% discount or get free shipping by supporting the websites through the collaborative members that we have. But, I would say that we're really still trying to figure things out. It has not been easy. It has been an up and down roller coaster. And I think that I really have appreciated how DC government has galvanized all these resources to support small businesses, and also some of the institutions and organizations like WAKIF and LEDC and the Inner City Capital Connections that have really reached out to support us as we're trying to navigate this difficult period.
Definitely. Thank you for that. And Mike, you had talked about sort of the new setup for this year, so bringing traffic downtown, bring foot traffic downtown. And if we go to the map that you laid out, I'll ask Zoel to go to that slide. One of the ways I think that you made it COVID safe was you moved out to the street, but then it's hard to see on the map, but is it one direction around? And kind of talk to us all the different kind of details that went into making this market, this holiday market, COVID safe.
Sure. In some ways, of course, there's lots of challenges this year, but in some ways, this challenge, putting us on the street, is kind of the greatest thing for this market. It's much more efficient, it's much more accessible, it's much better for every vendor, and it's going to, because of the way we have it structured for COVID, it's going to be very safe for the customers. But we've been operating for many months at other markets, and we've worked very closely with the Office of Planning and the rest of the government on developing protocols to have shopping occur safely outside. So it's really been honed down to its essence here with a single entrance. We're barricaded all around the market, so folks won't be coming from different directions. People all shop in one direction, so nobody crosses in front of each other. We don't have a single aisle with vendors on each side, so nobody's zigzagging around and going to get in front of somebody else or get too close to somebody else. So all of these things make for a better experience. And this way, when you had two aisles, or one aisle and two vendors, folks would miss stuff, and the crowds would make you miss stuff. In this scenario, every vendor gets every customer's eyeballs and a chance to sell. And then we have this center area for the public and a place to do a screen. We have the food is separated from the non-food, so we have food at the end caps and food in the middle next to the audience tent. So we really think it's just a better way to do business, and I hope we can continue on the street with government's help to do this in the future.
And I'm glad you brought up the farmers markets, because we have been able to keep farmers markets open during this time. And so I guess that experience has really allowed you to.
Yeah, the Food Policy Council and the Office of Planning really worked hard in developing a system for farmers markets to operate. You know, we were considered essential in the beginning, and it was very important to keep them open, and everyone dug in and worked together. And we all were sharing maps and best practices. And, you know, as a public space advocate, you know, I don't love having to barricade it and make one entrance. You know, I want the free flow, but I understand what we have to do this year. But there's something to be learned from that going forward when COVID's over too. There's something about having the foot traffic go in a certain way that's helpful. So it's going to be an interesting experiment, but I'm excited about it.
Great. And before we bring Neil into the conversation, or back into the conversation, we had a couple social media questions on social media, I should say. The first was from Tiffany on Facebook, who asked if we can extend unemployment benefits so people can pay rent. We actually, working with our partners on the council, do have an extension of some unemployment benefits underway right now. And if you go to the coronavirus.dc.gov web page, if you go to that site, we have all the contact information for our partners at the Department of Employment Services, who can walk through your eligibility for those different unemployment benefits. So that was a question from Tiffany. And then this one actually is for Director Donaldson. So what's the relevance of 50 units or less? That's a question from Layla on Facebook.
So thank you for that question. You know, we think of smaller buildings and small landlords as small business in the district, and in fact, those are some of the most. They operate on very small margins, and they are at risk of, if even there are just a handful of tenants that aren't paying their rent, that the building operations won't be sustainable, and that housing will be lost. Many times those units are naturally affordable, naturally occurring affordable housing, and we just wanted to target the resources for that one program, particularly to smaller buildings.
Okay. And then Cassandra asks about if there's any assistance for energy assistance, utility assistance, and there is. We have a program in the district called LIHEAP. And if you go to the coronavirus.dc.gov /recovery page, we'll make sure that all the information for the LIHEAP program, which is administered by our Department of Energy and the Environment, we'll make sure that all of that information is posted on coronavirus.dc.gov /recovery. So now bringing Neil back into the conversation, I'll ask Zoel to help us by getting that wonderful line chart that showed kind of the utilization. So what does the holiday market mean to downtown DC and bringing sort of foot traffic back in a safe way?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Before I respond to that, let me just underscore how safe this event is going to be, because I think it's extremely important. So Mike outlined a number of new initiatives that we're taking. So as he mentioned, it's going to be one direction only, so there's one entry and one exit. Our Downtown Bid Hospitality Ambassadors will be there at the entrance to make sure that people are not bunching together. We may do temperature checks at the entrance. We need lots of hand sanitizer and sanitizing equipment there. And then our ambassadors will move you along. If you are not moving along, we'd love for you to come and shop until you drop, and which means that we may delay your entrance into the area just to make sure that people can shop safely. We're going to be there for the entire day, so there is really no need to be bunching up. And then the other thing I would add about this, the streets of downtown DC are not very active right now. And so even as people take advantage of the food opportunities at the holiday market, You can feel free to spread out on the sidewalks at the Capital One Arena, et cetera, and enjoy the delicacies that are there. I'm going primarily for the donuts. We'll be there very often. I also want to take this opportunity to really just thank one of our supporters, Events DC, who's been an integral part of the city's recovery effort in supporting a number of the initiatives that the mayor's undertaken and in supporting the downtown DC bid. So what does this all mean for downtown DC? As I mentioned, we're operating at about 18% of where we were as an economy last year. And so this is an opportunity to get more people from around DC and the DC region to come and support our local vendors. That means jobs, right? So there's lots of seasonal hiring, and you heard from David and Rahama that it means jobs. It also means the opportunity to showcase some of the good work that people like David and Rahama have not been able to showcase for the last 6 to 8 months. And then finally, when people come downtown for the holiday market, we want to encourage you to support some of the other businesses that are open downtown. We do have 4 museums that are open downtown, and I've been to 2 of them since they've reopened. They are safe, socially distanced. The Smithsonian American Arts Museum is open. The National Portrait Gallery is open. The National Museum of Women in the Arts is open. And then particularly for folks with kids, the new museum in downtown DC is Planet Word. So come and enjoy the weekend, make it a downtown DC weekend, support a holiday market, and then support some of our museums that are open. And
the Planet Word is our newest museum in the district. It actually opened just recently, and it is at 13th and K Northwest, and it is entirely free for district residents.
Correct.
And so what you see with the lack of foot traffic too, we sometimes think about that as sort of, the workers not going into their office, but what does that have an impact on the workers who are in the retail and the restaurants? How has that impacted them?
Well, it's really translated into lots of our most essential, not our service industry workers actually being furloughed. And so, as I mentioned earlier, even though hotels are operating with 81% of their rooms available, they're still only operating at about 33% of where they were a year ago. That means that the people who make up your room, the people who serve you at the restaurants are no longer there because their budgets can't afford it. So the more foot traffic we get downtown, the more we're supporting our restaurants and our retail, our service industry workers who have been the hardest hit in downtown DC.
Also, I'd highlight for those who aren't able to take Metro, who need to drive downtown, right now on-street parking remains free and available for folks. So really the thing we want to emphasize is that this holiday market was designed in order to make sure that it was safe and accessible for folks. So we want to make sure that that's there and give folks an opportunity to support the vendors that are going to be presenting there and support those small businesses. Actually, Rahama, tell me how important is the fourth quarter to makers and vendors who will be at the market?
I would say it's tremendously important. As I mentioned before, even just looking at my business, losing 70% of revenue and seeing a little bit of turnaround at the end of the third quarter of 2020. This final quarter of 2020 is going to set us up for being able to do well in 2021. And so this is not only my experience, but also all of the brands that were featured here today and will be featured in the downtown holiday market. This is the last push. We want to end the year strong. We want to end the year hopeful, so that 2021 we can try to get our businesses back on track. And I say this not only for my business, but for the thousands of small business owners across the city. We are looking forward to seeing you at the downtown holiday market. You are literally going to be putting your money into the companies that keep this city running, that keep this city unique, and that keep the DC culture alive. So we look forward to seeing you in the next couple of days.
And David, for you, just kind of historically, what's the fourth quarter of the year mean for your business and keeping your employees on?
As a candy business, we do about 40 to 50% of our annual revenue in the months of November and December. So by far the biggest holidays of the year, outshining any of the others throughout the year. So it really is a critical time for us. And again, based on some of the support we're seeing from other businesses supporting us and giving us their business, we're optimistic that this is going to be it's not going to be as bad as it's been throughout the rest of the year. Things are on their way back, and we're excited about that.
Absolutely. And we have a couple more questions from social media. So we'll go to a Facebook question from, I think that's Charlie. Charlie asked, and this is for Director Donaldson, can I apply to both services, both programs for rental assistance, or do I choose one? And if I fit both criteria. So how do you navigate that question?
Sure. Let me answer. It's a great question. We actually selected the community-based organizations that are also implementing other rent assistance programs. So you have a one-stop shop where you enter and make the application, and then they determine which program you're best suited for and eligible for, and that we can get the funds to you. So just apply. We strongly encourage you to apply. Go to coronavirus.dc.gov and select which community-based organization you would like to work with.
And Charlie, if you so you've accessed this through Facebook, so you go to that website, go to the recovery page, and that's where you'll find all the information. And as the director said, so director, if I call any one of those organizations, they'll help me direct me to which program I actually qualify for.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. And then another question we had, this is, I think, a more general question, comes to us from Twitter, and Sutton, and it has some numbers at the end, but Sutton asked, where and how can I apply for low-income housing? Tell us just sort of how, where you direct folks when they ask where they can find affordable housing.
Sure. We have a website, DC Housing, which is a site that lists all the available affordable housing units that we have helped develop that are either directly low-income housing or they are inclusionary zoning. We also know that there are individual housing counseling organizations that can help try to match you up with available units and that receive listings from landlords for that purpose. We've also just launched Home for the Holidays, which was just announced by the mayor and the Department of Human Services. That is a very specific program that matches up landlords with tenants or residents who need housing.
Great. And that website is DC Housing Search.
Yes, dchousinsearch.org.
dchousinsearch.org, fantastic. And we'll make sure, I don't know if that one's listed on the recovery page, but we'll make sure.
We'll make sure it is.
We share that on social media as well as the recovery page, and make sure that we get into the Facebook feed all of the different links that we have also shared with you today. But that's a good question because I think a lot of times people don't know where to start, and dchousinsearch.org is a good place to start. And then a question from Facebook, and this is from, Renee. Renee asks, I can't get to a testing site. Do you have vans to pick you up? Actually, there's a new testing resource that we have available. If you go to the coronavirus.dc.gov site and you look for the testing tab, we actually have, through the Department of Health, a new resource for our residents, and that's actually to have a test sent to them. So it actually will come to you in the mail. It's a self-test that you can return. So if you go to the coronavirus.dc.gov/testing, go to that page, and you could find how you can access one of those testing kits. So instead of utilizing the van, we'll make sure we just mail it right to you, and you could get it there. So we've had a lot of questions. This has been a really robust dialogue today. We're coming to the end of our time. I always like to ask each of our guests to kind of give us a parting thought. It could even be a pitch to share their website. But we'll start off with David and ask him to give us his parting thought.
I'm very optimistic and excited about the holiday season this year. I think a lot of people I'm noticing on Facebook and other social media that people are putting up their Christmas trees early this year, and people are really anxious to have an exciting holiday. And I'm really excited because most of the events that we normally participated in are canceled this year. And so the downtown holiday market's going to be one of those things that's still here. And I think it's going to be a great way to celebrate the holidays. We would love to support you in your Christmas gift giving or holiday gift giving this year. Visit the capitalcandyjar.com or capitalcarepackage.com, and we appreciate your support.
Fantastic. Rahama?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Deputy Mayor, and thank you so much, Mike, for all the work that you are doing and the downtown bid to make this happen for all of us. I know that your team is stretched very thin right now, but like David said, I'm super, super excited that we get a chance to end the year strong. The theme of our tent is Shop Local, Celebrate Unity. So come on by, learn about the brands that are part of our collective, part of our community. We are certainly stronger together. And you can learn about all the different products that we'll be having at our tent at thedcpopup.com. Thank you.
Great. And we'll go to Mike next.
Sure. I'd like to encourage everyone to go to our website, downtownholidaymarket.com. You'll see all of the exhibitors that are participating, all of the program we have, all the accessibility to get there, and all the information you could find at downtownholidaymarket.com. Come on down. We open this Friday, and we really like to see you and support our small businesses in D.C.
Great. And Director Donaldson?
Yes, let me just reiterate again. We have rent assistance dollars. We can help you. You must apply. Please apply. If you have back rent, we can help you. Please apply. Go to coronavirus.dc.gov. We're here to help. Thank you.
And for the penultimate closing remarks, and from our most senior member of our team, Neil Albert.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to say thanks to the mayor and Deputy Mayor and all of the city agencies for really the efforts they've put in to support local businesses during this difficult time, from the PPE distribution to the small grants to the heaters that they're somehow scrounging up and finding for restaurants. I don't think businesses could survive without the support. I just want to acknowledge that support, but also I want to say to everyone who is watching, please come and shop in a safe environment downtown, and while you're here, support the other businesses that are open in downtown, including our museums, and have a happy holiday.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Neil, and to all of our guests, thank you for joining us. We're going to post a lot of this information on the coronavirus.dc.gov/recovery page. You could also check out more about the holiday market. We'll put that in the Phase 2 page, so you could just bounce around the coronavirus website, and that's really where you'll find a lot of the information, the resources that we've talked about today. Just wanted to reiterate what Neil said. We're all in this together, and we'll all get through this together, is what Mayor Bowser constantly tells us. And so what I want to do is make sure that we support these small businesses. We make sure that we make the resources available to renters as well. And next week, we're actually going to talk a little bit more about how we can support small businesses this holiday season. You heard from the panelists just how important the fourth quarter is to these small businesses and to the employees that they employ, to make sure that they close out the year strong and head even stronger into 2021. And so we'll talk about our Shop Local initiative next Tuesday, so we hope that you'll join us then. In the meantime, feel free to connect with us on social media and use the hashtag DCHope to send us your questions as the week goes on. And please stay safe, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.